good morning, and good morning again. I'd like to say happy Saturday to you if you're tuning in with us today. I want to say good morning, first and foremost, to all of those that are joining us by way of Facebook Live. Let me just say, man, it's a great day to be alive. And to those of you that may be tuning in by way of YouTube this morning, good morning to you as well. I am just so thankful to be found on the wake up list today. Maybe you're joining by phone. This is your first time and you wanted to join in by phone as well. We just wanted to come in this morning and say thank you for being diligent and following us on our social media platforms. We are trying our level best to bring you some very much needed resources amid the post pandemic. Many of us are starting to move back around again, and these are just some helpful tips to help you navigate through this thing called life. So let's get started. Boy, do we have some resources for you today, many of which are new, and I certainly want to have time to unpack those for you today. Listen, I want to tell you that if you're having any challenges around burnout, doing the right thing, but having to realize sometimes you run out of energy, run out of gas, motivation, compassion, all those are the same thing. And sometimes it's possible if you know someone that's doing good work, but every now and then they find themselves in that slump where they're questioning if they're even making a difference. This broadcast today is absolutely designed for you. We're going to ask you, if you know someone, hit that share button and maybe they can benefit from the broadcast as well. Let me tell you how you can join us. We'll go over that. So if you have Facebook or you have a friend that has Facebook and they're dealing with this whole concept of burnout, you can send them the Facebook handle, Dr. K.L. Williams Ministry. Good morning, Dr. Flanagan. You can send the Facebook handle, Dr. K.L. Williams Space Ministry. And then if they're on YouTube, you can send them our YouTube handle, Dr. K.L. Williams Space Ministry. If you have a cell phone and you just want to dial by phone, you see the access number there. We're coming to a close in this particular topic on burnout. And we're trying to say if you have other areas where you need some resources or some coaching around, you can go straight to bit.ly/RealTalk Your Voice. Let me tell you to put you right in touch with us. 60 straight minutes. We go hard in, just like what we're going to do today, trying to give you as much resources and strategies and tools to combat this thing called LIFE. We address life issues, and I want to tell you it's straight, honest, transparent conversation. This is not for the faint of heart because we go straight in. We never try to leave our session without offering you some practical tools to put in your toolbox. Somebody said, why do you do that? Well, the truth of the matter is when you go and have a job application, there's nothing any sweeter than having the right tool for the right job. Case in point, somebody tried to hang a nail on the wall and use a shoe heel and then ended up creating a bruise on their finger, not using the right tool for the right application. Anyone can participate. And so let's get started. What I want to ask you to do once again, a little housekeeping. If you are blessed by this, you know somebody struggling around doing the right thing, but getting burnt out, feeling like they're not making any inroads and what's the use? Listen, hit that share button, allow them to join today. And then we always ask you if you have a moment to say amen, good morning, how you doing? We'll give you a shout out just like this. All the way down in Jacksonville, North Carolina, I want to give a huge shout out to a very diligent follower, Mr. Gene Flanagan and his family. I want to say good morning to you. And I am absolutely honored for your presence today. As the others come in, I will give you the same shout out. Listen, let's get started. We've been talking about this thing called burnout. And what is burnout? It is, I wanted to just give you a quick recap. Listen, now you can go back to any of the previous sessions and you can capture the entire thing. But I wanted to always keep us grounded because so many people don't realize there are many different ways to get burned out. I'm telling you, I've seen it and actually experienced it myself. For example, there's what we call mental burnout. My mind can't process anymore. It's just fried. I've heard people, I've seen good people doing good work, and then they just get to a point where the mind is like, I can't deal with nothing else. Then there's emotional burnout. The heavy and anxious emotions are exhausting me. You're trying up and down all kinds of ways, emotionally on the inside. Every morning you get up, you having these emotional roller coasters, happy, sad, mad, all the above, and sometimes all at the same time. It is a true sign that you're encountering emotional burnout. And then the one that I really try to watch out for is compassion burnout. And that is simply to say, I cannot hold any more loving space for anyone else. I'm simply tapped out. I've seen people in the community, in the church, on the job, good, solid people, and then they start checking out. They don't have that compassion that they used to. They don't have that passion, the ability to have a loving, outgoing personality. Typically, you know it, you can see it. They're normally outgoing people, and then all of a sudden they feel somewhat withdrawn. And then there is a relational burnout. People who get in relationships in their church, in their organization, in their family, and they just simply say that they're over giving to others. Who am I speaking to? Because I know people who are just passionate about being that person in the community or that family member who's always giving. And can I tell you something? If you don't have the one word balance, BALANCE, if you don't have that word and know what that word means, you'll get in a relationship and feel like you're the only one giving in the relationship. And I'm telling you, you're headed for burnout because you have to find time for you to give in a relationship. But I got news for you. You also have to have time to receive in that relationship. Relationships are relational. So it's about two people. And then there's survival burnout, that there are those who are exhausted, always trying to make ends meet and stay afloat. Listen, the pandemic has exacerbated this particular kind of burnout because you find yourself trying in this realm of trying to be quarantined. And then, listen, the pandemic has ripped the band-aid off of an already exacerbating problem with people all about themselves. And then we found out the pandemic has taught us as human beings that you cannot live in this world by yourself. However, you must find that balance, that even though you're helping other people, you have to help yourself as well. And so then there's the Superman, Superwoman burnout. Everybody everywhere is always looking to you to take on the weight of the world. And that's fine if you have broad shoulders. But I got to tell you something, even the broad shoulders, if you put too much on them, going to cave and crumble. And so this is why the word NO has to be in your vocabulary, that sometimes, even though you want to do, you just have to say to people, I just cannot. It's a wonderful place of reprieve, but very few people. I know a person that, listen, they just want to help the whole world, and then watch this now. What happens to the super person? They end up having unfinished and undone tasks. At some point, the Superman or the Superwoman has to find that healthy balance that you can not only help others, but you also have to use what I call fidelity and be able to finish something. You don't want to have a whole bunch of unfinished tasks. What that is simply saying that you might be in a space of what we call Superwoman, Superman burnout. Then there's also number 7, a passion burnout. I love what I do, but I've given too much and I pushed too hard. We're going to end on that one at the end of this broadcast today, coming right back to this whole notion about when you get up and get going in the morning, there ought to be something that inspires you to get up and do what you do. I know it is for me. It is that thing that I'm passionate about. It's the one thing, listen to this, that you would do even if you don't get paid to do it. You would do it even if they don't recognize you for doing it. You will do it if even sometimes it seems like you're being exploited, because there's a reason why you do what you do. It's because of the passion. But I want to tell you something, even in doing what you do, sometimes you can find yourself just tapped out saying, I love it, but I just can't go. I just can't give. I just can't do no more. If you're even remotely saying, Williams, you're on my page, we want to tell you today about how you can navigate through these kinds of burnouts. And yes, all 7 ultimately manifest themselves in number 8, which is physical burnout. My body is revolting. I have been depleted and my life's force. Let me tell you something. It shows up in your ability to be healthy, in your ability to think well, and your ability to move well. When you have burnout, it affects basically your physical being. And so that's what we wanted to tell you about again in the prelude of today's session, is that just keep in mind that it's not just when you say I'm burnt out, there are 8 different ways, 8 different kinds. And then go back to the previous Excels and on YouTube, because you will find that there are basically 12 stages to a burnout. And then we talked about 10 ways to combat burnout. And so I want to go over those briefly, and then we'll move forward in our session on today, keeping in mind that even the best of the best, if they're not real careful, can find themselves in this space of burnout. I want to say to Sister Ethel, all the way in Virginia, listen, may God bless you for your fidelity in following us in this program so much. Thank you, Sister Janie, as well, up in the Upper Maryland area, for tuning in with us today. Again, so let's talk about this, because I've seen it, and I've seen some good people ultimately check out of doing some good things because they didn't have that one word called balance. And in the best of us, what good is it if you're doing all these good things and then all of a sudden it overtakes you with this thing called burnout? We talked about that. What I like to tell people is, it's one thing to talk about a problem, but when I deal with the problem, I also not only like to talk about the what, but I also like to talk about the how. Tell me how I can get past the burnout, all right? And that's what I wanted to just talk about for a moment today, as we look as a quick recap. When we say burnout, there's some signs that you can, ways that you can combat it. First of all, start looking for signs and symptoms. That simply means being aware of the signs and the symptoms that we talked about earlier in those 12 stages, the symptoms and signs. And then guess what? They can help you to combat burnout early on. So early detection is the key. Sometimes people are doing the good work, they're doing great things, and they start seeing these early signs. It's what I say in my line of work around Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss prevention. It's when you first start seeing the signs of memory loss. That's the most effective intervention. Sometimes people overlook it. I've seen it, and Lord knows I've seen it play out. And for example, there are 5 stages of Alzheimer's, memory loss, and memory prevention with the Alzheimer's Association. And they say that phase 1 is preclinical. Like, so there are really no major signs. And that's why early detection and early prevention is the key. Most people who know about Alzheimer's, they're over there on stage 5, which is severe and profound. It's affecting your everyday participation. But what I'm asking you, early on, go back and review this PowerPoint. Start with phase 1, and what you will find, we have a activity, an assessment tool that you ask yourself these questions, and your answers early on to these questions can help you to determine where you are on that slide or on that continuum. Don't wait till you're over there in step 12 where it's affecting your everyday work, your walk, and your whole mission. All right. And then we say another way to combat burnout, listen, is rest and recovery. I'm telling you right now, I just talked to another pastor just this week. He said, Williams, I'm just tired, man. He said, and at the end of the day, I'm ready to sell my Bible and hang my robe up. You know why? Because he doesn't have balance. I put every bit of my weight on him, and I made him to understand it's okay to put people on pause. It's okay to put the job on pause. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation this week with my reporting manager, and I told her, listen, I got one more project to do, and I'm taking 10 days off. I'm not taking no phone. I'm going out of the country. And listen, and I want to tell you something: work, church, and family. Because what good are you, my friend, if you're down to the point where you're feeling physically affected and you're no longer able to do rest and recovery? Figure out. You may not be able to take 10 days, but you can at least cut that phone off. Listen, have you ever seen it? A person's at dinner, and I'm real conscious about this. I tell my children all the time, you're going to go to dinner with me, leave that phone in the car, because at the end of the day, it can be a distraction, and also it can cause you to never be able to check out. Rest and recovery. I'm telling you right now, you are no good to anyone if you're no good to yourself. All right. And then there's another way to combat burnout, and that's your workload. Share your workload and don't be afraid to ask for help if you're feeling overwhelmed. And here's that word, overwhelmed. Combat burnout, combat over being overwhelmed. I'm telling you right now that no man is an island to himself. And the reality is, it's okay to ask for help. Thank God my pastor colleague called me because he was headed for a just an overwhelming collapse. And it'll happen to you doing good, but it'll overtake you by not having balance. And I'm asking you today, go back and take that assessment. And then what you will find is the second part of that assessment is find out what you need to get past the burnout, and then don't let anything or anyone stop you from getting that intervention. Why? Because you do not want to find yourself in step 12 where you're physically burnt out, and it is a manifestation of all the other types of burnout. Then create some workplace habits. Listen, I'm in corporate America, and one of the things they tell you is find ways to have healthy habits to reduce burnout. Do you know that they say now that sitting is the new smoking? Yes, the literature and the research all say that when a person sits all day on the job, it's just the same results as smoking. Why? Because that sitting causes sedimentation, and your ability to really be able to move and get the circulation going. We now have in corporate America what we call revolving and moving desk. There's a button on my desk that I can actually go and put my desk and cause the desk itself to move up and down. I want to submit to somebody today that if you're working in corporate America, if you're working at church, you're working at home, wherever you're working at, put some mobility into your workspace. And what we found was this notion that you should have a routine. After every hour, I don't care what you're doing, you should say, I'm going to get up, take a 5-minute walk. I'm going to get up, go do a 5-minute stretch. I'm going to get up. Even if you're lecturing, give your audience an opportunity to get moving, because it is a wonderful way to avoid burnout. Coping skills, learn some effective coping skills that can help you deal with pressure and adversity. We all have pressure. Listen, it's one of those things you cannot avoid. The best of the best. We can't listen to this. One of the things I told you before about square breathing, the reason why these are important is because you can't stop the pressure from coming. But what you can do is regulate your response to the pressure. My friends, I feel good on a Saturday morning. Let me tell you something right now. There are people that will get up in the morning and their whole MO is to get you off your game. Who am I speaking to today? And the reality is you have the controlling power to cause yourself to keep going amid the pressure and adversity. All you have to do is have some coping skills. Several that I have. I have three affirmations. We've talked about this before. When I get up in the morning, I tell myself that nothing's going to happen to me that's going to shock God. Number two, listen, whatever's happening to me, God is already going to take it and work it out for my good. And number three, I look myself in the mirror and say, you are somebody, Williams. Listen, I'm not going to sit around and wait for an affirmation from somebody who's hating on me, because they know that the affirmation keeps me going forward. It's called coping skills. And then another big coping skill during our burnout session is 2 letters, N-O. Learn how to say no. You can't be everything for everybody all the time. You're setting yourself up for a burnout. And then next one is exercise. Stay active, my friend. Do regular exercise. And then I heard a lady the other day, she was 69. She said, Reverend, all that sounds good. She said, but I got bad knees. I said, ma'am, I want to introduce you to a term called sitter-cise. Yes, you can sit down. The doctors, your primary cares now, everybody's saying the same thing. You might not can't walk 5 miles, but you can sit in that chair and you can move your body. You can move your arms, your upper body and lower body. What you're demonstrating to your body is that you will not be sedimentary. That is simply to say, I will not sit here and let my life go down to nothing. Get out, get going, and do something is what I want to tell you. And then learn to have a switch. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Set yourself some rules, some boundaries that will help you switch off from work or home and from everybody else. At some point, if you're looking at TV, you ought to say, this is my TV time. I'm not going to touch that phone. Listen, or if this is my R&R time, listen, I'm going to walk and I'm not going to let anything and anyone get involved. I saw somebody the other day. They were in the bathroom. My friends, let me talk to you for a moment. The brother had the phone on the urinal and he was trying to go through emails while he was trying to use the bathroom. I said to myself, this is absolutely insane that you can't even go to the bathroom without having a switch to turn off to say, you know what? While I'm going to the bathroom, that's my space. You know, it used to be a time people would call that your personal space. They would go to the bathroom and take a magazine with them. Oh, I know I'm old school, but I want to tell you something. What they were telling you is that that's my time and I deserve to do something relaxing. What's your switch? That's a big question for us today. Do you have a switch? Do you have a place that you go that you say, listen, I'm not doing it there. Listen, that's my personal time, and you need to be able to make it sacred time. And the other one is support. That's another way to combat burnout. My friend who's a pastor called me yesterday. He said, man, I tried what you said, and it made some people uncomfortable. He said, but I had to just tell them, I just can't right now. I would love to, but I just can't. And so I'm just asking you to find that support system that helps you make sure you have a system in place, family or colleagues or friends who can talk with you when you feel stressed. You should have someone that you can lean into. We all have it. And then your environment. Listen, as I said before, that there ought to be a place where you go where you can say, my environment is balanced. Like for me, I'm a Fred Sanford guy. Listen, I'm telling you, I gotta confess. When I get totally burned out, I got a whole series. My friends, they know I'm a Sanford addict. And guess what? They bought me a whole DVD series of just probably hundreds of episodes of Fred Sanford. And let me tell you right now, I've not gotten to the end yet. And so when I feel overwhelmed and I feel like my environment needs to change, I'll go right there to my big flat screen TV and I'll put me a Fred Sanford episode on. I'll laugh because the good book says laughter is like medicine. Now, I want to help somebody. Don't be so serious that you can't find a space to laugh. And then finally, the 10th way to combat burnout is what we call values. Take time to reconnect with your values. You'd be surprised at the number of people, for example, values like I have trust. I have confidence. I have equity. These are just some basic values. I have transparency. And sometimes you can be so engaged in doing the work that you don't realize or you're not connected to your values. Like when somebody asks you to do something, you're trying to do so many things that you don't realize that one of your values is about completion, finalizing, crossing the end zone, and you can compromise on that by doing too many things at the same time. All right. And so I'm ready for the next part of the PowerPoint. And I want to pick up from here and show you the next slide. After all that, we can go past those. That's the self-assessment I was talking about. You can keep going for me. You can keep going the next slide for me, please. Want to get to the 10 after the 10 symptoms. I mean, right there is where I'll need to be, right there. All right. I'm going to say good morning also to my good friend, Sister Deborah Simpson in the Greensboro area. So the relevant question, Mr. Flanagan, an educator, he knows this very well. Every good presentation has a relevant question. And the relevant question for this presentation today is simple. Does this represent you? Do you see yourself in this image right here? This is a classic example of burnout. You say, why, Williams? Let's just look at this picture for a moment and let's just analyze what the picture, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. All right. You can see, first of all, the clutter around the desk. That's an indication that you're really overwhelmed and you don't have time to keep things orderly and in place. You can see the computer screen. You can see that there's coffee there. There's an effort to try to gain that personal space. But then we also want you to focus in on the body language, because this becomes paramount if this represents you. So the person, you can see their temple. We know from this picture that there's strain internally and it's manifesting itself in the forehead temples, outward protruding. It's a sign, no doubt, probably gritting their teeth, mouth closed. It's an image of anxiety and being overwhelmed. Glasses propped up, and the overarching telltale sign is when you're grabbing the upper part of your nose, that bridge area, which we know our glasses sit on. If you wear glasses, if not, it is what we call one of the 10 tension points. We should go over that sometime, but not today. But he's given attention to one of the 10 tension points. The temples is another tension point. This notion that his hands and his arms are folded. My friends, listen, if this represents you, does this picture represent you at church, at home, at work? Listen, a community that you feel like you just, I just got to take a break because I'm feeling overwhelmed. My friends, look at the bottom after the relevant question. If this represents you, you should reach out for help. Knowing when that point is to reach out for help. Good morning, my good friend, Dr. Robert Black. Always, may God bless you real good for joining us today. I want to talk to somebody today about, if this represents you, what can you do? Now, I want to ask you, you have to be honest with yourself. I'm in academia, and one of the things that the research says is that usually when a person is burnt out, they try to create this facade, this image, because you have to hold up this image for people. But I want to tell you, it's in our previous broadcast, and I need to share it with you again today. Any of you who ever flown, it is a classic sermon. Oh, preachers, you can preach on this. Listen, put your mask on first. The airline stewardess says, if in the event that there's a loss of cabin pressure, they say a mask will fall down from out of the top. And when that mask falls down, it says, put your mask on first and then offer assistance. Because what the airlines has found out is, what good is it for you to try to save someone else and then you be lost yourself? And I want to ask someone today, when was the last time you checked your own mask while you're checking other people's masks? I want to tell you that it is a self-survival skill. And we get caught up and we get so consumed until the signs are there. We're just too busy to recognize them. And I'm saying to you today, you ought to get you an index card, get you a sticky, get you a little magnet made, put it somewhere where you frequent every day and remind yourself, you got to put your mask on first before you try to put someone else's mask on. Because the last thing you want, Paul in the Bible says, woe is me if I preach the gospel and then I be lost. Oh my gosh, y'all gonna make me get happy on a Saturday morning. Listen, there's nothing any worse than you being that person who's offering those survival tips to someone, and then you be lost yourself, or you end up overwhelmed yourself, or you become so burnt out until you end up not being able to complete your task. I'm saying to you today, if this represents you, this picture that's on the screen now, it is a manifested overwhelmed individual. And we know that it can happen to the best of us. All I'm inquiring is, if this represents you, reach out for help. Go back to those 10 combatant skills and see if we can't move that needle and get you back to being balanced. I love that concept when you talk about, is this you? Because the reality is, sometimes life can get you distracted. And I want to share this with you in all sincerity, that I heard a sermon once, and I want to share this, may it bless somebody. It was an individual who had passed away, but they were old, like 80. And the sermon topic was tired in the way, but not tired of the way. My friends, let me tell you, I'm trying my best not to get happy on a Saturday. And because what he was saying was, this elderly person was a go-getter. They were a mover and a shaker. And at the end of the day, the eulogy was, this person figured out how sometimes they would get tired and they would just take a break. They would just tell you, I can't do it right now. He said they got tired in the way, but never tired of the way. Let me tell you, what a profound declaration. May it help somebody today that you should find a way to recognize when you're tired and find a way to get a break, a rest, a respite of some kind, but don't ever get tired of the way. So whatever it is that you called to do, don't get tired of doing it. Sometimes you may get tired in the process of doing it, but don't get tired of doing it itself. All right, let's go now to my next slide. I wanted to tell you, here's the slide that I've been waiting patiently to get to today, because at the end of the day, we need some resources. And I hope you take a picture of this screen, or maybe even screenshot this, or maybe go back and review it where you can write down the books. I've done some research for you and brought you 10 resources that will assist you in avoiding the burnout syndrome. For example, there's a book at the top. You see it here. This book is called Burnout. The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. It's by Emily Margolis, PhD. The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. And it is indeed a cycle that if you're not careful, out in Raleigh, North Carolina, is something called the 440 belt line. I got a rude awakening to that belt line when it first got started. A belt line is designed to circle a particular city. And if you don't know what exit to get off on, you can ride all day and burn out all your gas because you're in a cycle and don't know how to get out of it. Oh, I know I'm talking good to somebody today, that you find yourself going around and around and around in this cycle. And I want to tell you, there's a wonderful resource to help you figure out how to get out of that stress cycle. Then after that, the art of saying no. You listen, if you have a problem saying no, you definitely need this book. You see the author, Damon Zahardis. Listen, it's how to stand your ground, reclaim your time and energy, and refuse to be taken for granted without feeling guilty. I'm telling you, my friends, I wanted to help so many people because you can't say yes to everything and everyone. At some point, you know for yourself, you're going to run out of energy and motivation. And maybe your issue is that you don't know how to say no. This is a wonderful book to be able to help you to not only say no, but also to help you to stand your ground. Ooh, hallelujah. Now, I want to tell you something. Some people, they know you don't know how to say no. My dad told us, he said, when you're raising kids and dealing with folks, you ought to say no sometime just so they know that you got no in your vocabulary. Am I talking good to anybody today? When was the last time you said no? I want to talk good on a Saturday morning because you can't say yes to everybody and to everything. And then here's another one at the top. Can't even became how millennials and Helen Peterson. It's another way of saying I can't even, and then you fill in the blank. Oh my goodness, let's tell you, it's a wonderful resource book. You don't have to get them all, but I certainly hope that you would get at least one of them. And then I recently purchased this one on column 2 at the bottom called Boundaries. It's been a New York bestseller. When to say yes and how to say no to take control of your life. I've done research sessions on this. In this book, I absolutely recommend it. If you're doing any kind of leadership at all, this book teaches us about this concept called close for business. And you know how it is when you go to a store, you want something really, really bad. I'm telling you, you done put it, researched it, Googled it, and they say, go to this store on this address. And when you get there, the door is closed and says closed for business. So what they're telling you is no matter how bad you want, whatever it is you want, it's not going to happen right now. And, sometimes people don't know how to create those boundaries. And this is why I wanted to offer some resources. If you're in that space where you're having a problem trying to create boundaries and balance, I strongly recommend this book right here called Boundaries. It's a game changer for me. And I'd like to bless you with that same knowledge on putting that on your book list as well. We'll be using that book to guide some more principles around leadership as well. And it can be used in the family. Sometimes family asks unrealistic things of you. You can be used in the church, and that's a wonderful place where you need to know where you create your boundaries at? How many times you've been asked to do 3 or 4 things, and then when you realize that none of them are being completed because you're overexerting yourself or overcommitting yourself, and at some point you have to say, I'm closed for business on that one. You know, that's just another way of saying go find somebody else, or either put it for a deferred date, is whatever it takes. But the next one is a resource called 52-Week Mental Health Journal. What we find is that when you write, it helps bring things back to memory. Even for persons dealing with Alzheimer's, early on, they teach you to write and journal. This is a wonderful mental health journal, and it says guided prompts and self-reflections to reduce stress and improve well-being. Sometimes you just need somebody to help you to get started. And this is a wonderful journal with some guided prompts in it to help you to start that process. If you just had the right words to say and still be respectful, it's a better place than being stressed out, overwhelmed, and then you snap at somebody over something that if you had been balanced, there's no way you would have responded like that. And so this book gives you some prompts on how to start and answer things. And then I love the one under that, existentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less. Oh my goodness. Listen, I can't say enough about this particular book. You know, some people, there is a concept in this world where some people don't find nothing wrong with anything. But there is such a thing as having boundaries. And this book, coupled with the book of boundaries, is an absolute knockout, trying to teach you on how to be disciplined, because that's the key word, is that if you had some disciplinary concepts and guides and prompts, you could be so ever professional. Get the job done by saying, I have boundaries and I can't take that on. But at the same time, put some guardrails around yourself to be able to let people know that, yes, you can't think everything's all right with everything. That's a bad place to be. That book will help you. And then on the next column is 50 ways to improve your mood and cultural calmness. Mindfulness for stress management. Dr. Robert Schachter did an amazing job teaching us how to go to that place of mindfulness. Because sometimes we can know we need to get there, but we don't know how to get there. You're trying to seek out stress and stress management, you would be well served. I'm telling you right now. Team up with somebody. You buy one and they buy one, and y'all tag team and share off of each other. You don't have to get them all yourself. That's just another wonderful strategy on trying to get what you need without overtaxing yourself. And can I tell you something, that this is a good place for me to say to someone that even though you're doing great things, that if you don't manage the stress will manage you. I talked to a coworker just this week, and I said to them, you have to quit being so predictable. Like when people come to you and they know you're going to jump off because they know how to pull your chain. Don't be so predictable. Dive into books that help teach you how to manage your stress, because when you do that, it blows people's mind. Let me give you an example. Someone lied on you, said all kind of nasty things about you. And they even said it to one of your inner circle people because they knew that you would ultimately get it back. And then when you see the person, you have such a pleasant demeanor. Even offer God's blessings. May God bless you, my friend. It's a biblical concept because the Bible is clear that when you show a kind word, it's like heaping coals on the head of your adversary. Now listen, that is a big, profound concept for somebody, but I want to teach you that when you can manage your stress, uh, it is a wonderful place. And also, it's a teachable moment for the person who sought out to get you uncomfortable. That's a great book, 50 Ways to Improve Your Mood, and Don't Allow People to Determine Your Mood. Then at the bottom of that next to the last column is a book called The Burnout Fix, Overcome Overwhelm. Did you see? The real bottom root manifestation of burnout is an individual feels overwhelmed. You feel like everything is crowding in on you. But at the end of the day, this book says the burnout fix. There are beat, busy, and sustain success in the new world of work. And these principles also work in family, and these principles also work in our faith community as well. The burnout fix. I'm telling you right now, these are some powerful resources to help you manage this thing called burnout. You can overcome that feeling of being overwhelmed, and you can actually beat being busy. Because I had a young man that told me he was busy. And I finally just asked him, I didn't mean no disrespect, but I said, let me ask you a question. Are you busy being busy, or are you busy being effective? Because you do know that there's a paramount difference between the two, that you can be busy, but when you get finished, you're not completing any task, or they're not completed with any level of fidelity, or even, experimental, what we call professionalism, or how about this one? Finished with excellence, because you can finish a job and somebody else got to come behind you and clean it up. What have you done? Come on, man. So I want to tell you that you can beat being busy. You want to be busy and be effective. And this is a word I incorporate in everything I do, and it's called sustainability. Like, it's not something you want to do one time. You want to figure out a path to help you stay busy. All right. And then when we go to the last two on the right, do nothing. How to break away from overworking, overdoing, and underliving. Oh my gosh. That's an excellent book as well. Do nothing. When was the last time you just did nothing and did it for you? I'm telling you, my time's about out today, but I want to tell you something. These are some profound resources. And then burn out to breakthrough. You see, it's a continuum going from burnout to breakthrough. If you've been there, building resilience to refuel, recharge, and reclaim what matters. Oh my gosh. Listen, I've got to, my time is about out for the day, but I want to tell you something. These are some wonderful tools to help us in our pursuit to get away from burnout and get back to balance. Can I say it again? This is our way of being on a pursuit to get from burnout back to balance. Now, I want to tell you that I have got a book list, and this is the place I wanted to share with people. If you invest in nice shoes, got your Nikes, got your felines, whatever it is, if you invest in a nice car, you want a nice ride, you invest in nice clothes, don't you think it's worth looking into to invest in resources for a good state of mind? Many people overlook that, and you deserve to invest in yourself. I'm telling you right now, why invest in everything else and not in yourself? Choose a resource from here and make it a part of your inner person, that you say, I'm going to get some resources to help me manage this thing called burnout. Next slide, please. And so what we have is this notion here around the relevant question number 2: is your life balanced? Look at this wonderful elephant with all that weight. But it is the mystery that that elephant has figured out with all the weight that he carries, how to balance himself. Oh my goodness. And I want to ask you the same thing today. Is your life balanced? It's wonderful to give to others and it's wonderful to do for others. But what about your life? Is your life balanced? This is a wonderful place to just do some soul searching within yourself and figure out just exactly where your life is headed. And, I like to ask those tough questions sometimes. Um, where does your life fall on this continuum? Um, and there's a little quote on the right: how to create perfect balance in your life. I want to tell you, this says life balance is giving proper um, and proper priority and perspective to all aspects of your life to keep your life upright and steady. Can I read that again? How to create a perfect balance in your life. Life balance is giving proper priority and perspective to all aspects, not some, but all aspects of your life to keep your life upright and steady. And I'm saying I'm going hard in today to challenge someone. What good is it if you're doing all these things, making everybody else happy, and then you about to run out of gas yourself? You need to stop, get refueled, regenerated, and re-energized. Burnout is a very serious thing because it lends itself to mental instability. And what I've seen so many times is when people get to that stage, they do stupid stuff. Yes, I said it. Lash out at people on something so trivial that if you had had your coping skills in place, you would have just handled it and kept on moving. That's why I say find that space. Do you need to take a day off or take a week off? Go to that place that you like to go to that gives you a chance to level set and come back and have some fight in you. Let me go to the next slide as well. Thank you again, Mr. Flanagan, for those kind words. Thank you so much for that. I want to always try to end with this. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you've ever flown, you've seen this, you've seen them in operation trying to tell you, to put your mask on first. I want to submit to you today that it is a wonderful affirmation that when you are out doing what you do, don't forget to put your mask on first. Self-care is not an option. It is a necessity. What that simply says is, listen, I don't have the privilege. It's too risky and the stakes are too high for me to be out here doing good for everybody. And then my well-being is taking a hit because I don't have no self-care for me. I want to close. I got about 3 minutes left. I wanted to just give you, you can come off that screen for me. And what I wanted to do was to give you everyone a Bible verse to look at this week. And that's found in Galatians 6, 9, and 10. Listen to what it says. Galatians 6, 9 through 10. It says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially them who are of the household of faith. And the two key words is due season. That there is this assurance to you, my friend, that if you maintain that that there's a due season for you, but you don't want to give up, you don't want to give in, and you don't want to give out before the due season. And it gives us a warning. It says, don't be deceived. In other words, this God we serve, he is not mocked. He will keep a heavenly record. I don't know who I'm talking to today, but I got to close my session today, but not before I remind you that whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. And if you sow good things, I want to tell you, they'll come to you if you just don't faint. Well, I want to tell you, don't be weary in well doing. As we wisely manage our resources before God under the principles of sowing and reaping, we need patience. That's the key word of what I'm trying to drive home. It is easy but dangerous to lose heart. That's what I want to talk about and close my time today. That what a travesty it would be to do good to so many and then lose heart in the end because you faint and give up. It's easy to lose heart when we feel that our work sometimes is in vain and you giving and not really being recognized. And in academia, like I'm in, you're working hard trying to make research inroads, and then somebody scoop your work and you see your work on somebody else research without any recognition. The good thing is you cannot afford to lose heart when we feel like that. But that is exactly when we must hang on and not grow weary while doing good. I want to talk to somebody today that if this is you, I want you to ask God, your provider, to help you to manifest how to keep doing good without fainting. Because the text tells us that God is not mocked. Let me tell you, sometimes men and women, they'll forget about your good labor. They will act like you've done absolutely nothing. Am I talking good to anybody on this broadcast today? They'll even try to take what you have done and take credit for it themselves. My time is about out. We'll have to pick this up next time, but I wanted you to leave this session affirmed that God is not mocked and he sees your good work. All he asks is that you stay at it and don't get weary and faint. Keep working until next time. That's all I have. I hope you have been blessed by our broadcast. We'll pick right back up on this whole concept of reaping and sowing and doing good and don't faint. Can I pray with you today? My time is about out. God, thank you for time well spent in this space today. These are your people and these are your children. We are all on this journey trying to make a difference. And we're asking that you would give us the strength, the wisdom that is necessary for us to keep our mask on while we're doing work for others and ultimately work for you. We want to receive the reward for our labor, and we do not want to faint. I ask it now in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, until next time, you've got some wonderful work to do. Go in and try to make sure that you can put that keep your mask on motto in your home. Until next time, I love you, and absolutely there's nothing you can do about it. God bless you.